ultimate. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our family business. Yes, it sounds like a very private conversation, but we are having it oh so publicly, honey. It is a CITI Center conversation rooted in the work of the Selma Center for Nonviolence, Truth, and Reconciliation. The Selma Center's work is about building the beloved community by addressing the root causes of injustice, including economic injustice. And at the CITI Center, we are well on our way to putting that vision into action. So tonight, we are asking the simple but important question, can this make money? How can the land, homes, and property already in our families become tools for income, opportunity, and generational wealth while protecting what our families have worked to build? I'm excited to welcome our guest, Ajua Yamea. She is an amazing asset to the entire state of Alabama and this region, and certainly in the area of heirs property. Y'all, I'm telling you, literally within like 2 minutes, this sister downloaded some stuff I had never thought about related to land. So we're going to have a practical conversation about recognizing the possibilities we already have. And we want to hear from you. So as we discuss, we want to make sure and invite you to actually share your questions, ask questions, get involved in the conversation. This is our family business, so you are invited into the conversation. Welcome,
Thank
Ajua.
you.
How are you? Yes.
I am doing well, and thank you for having me. And it's a pleasure to work with you, and also even getting online or whether in person. I'm excited to speak with people from all over the place, whether it's in Alabama or whatever part of the U.S. Because a lot of this information is just transferable, and the states might have different laws or different regulations, but the underlying information is pretty much the same.
Awesome. And so I'm glad you said that, because a lot of times when we hear about states' rights and all of these laws being different, it can be confusing, right? But the fact that this conversation is super universal. So as you are listening and watching, y'all know that you can share this with your relatives across state lines. Share this video. We are live on YouTube as well as on Facebook, and we're so excited to be able to share this information. So I want to just really dive in, because I have a ton of questions to ask, and I'm hoping we can squeeze them all into an hour. But I know that we did, when we initially talked about this topic, we had a really long conversation. I really hated, that we both had things to do that following the conversation we had, because I became very fascinated, and I've been looking things up and exploring the opportunities that you mentioned. And so let's start with that big question. When a family owns land or a house, how do we begin determining whether the house, can this make money?
Give each other a great big hug. So the number one issue, when I'm going to talk about the issue before the solution, families family owners, co-owners, have not been working well from my point of view. However, there are many families that do. And that's really what you need to do first and foremost, is say, hey, let's talk about this. And also, look at your, that family tree is, hey, let's start. But more importantly, was there a will? So the will, who was it left to? But I want to also speak about the Uniform Partition of Heirs Property Act. And
Yeah.
so that's the UPHPA, if you hear that anywhere, and it can be looked up. So that's the Uniform Partition of Heirs Property Act, and it's supposed to help address the legal challenges across the United States that are, to assist the dividing of family land when multiple heirs inherit it without a clear title. So ultimately, clear title is where you want to be. The amount of money, it can range. So it just really, you got to focus on who wants to go forward. How can we go forward? And sometimes it might not be successful, and sometimes it is. So it's just really getting your family together on one accord.
Getting us together.
Yes, and it's like getting each other together for a family reunion, Thanksgiving dinner, but you have to really talk business. So I've also been hearing families are having business meetings quarterly. That's a good place to start and have that, because we will all age out at one point in time. So that's a topic of conversation that needs to happen.
Absolutely. And even as we approach the fall and winter of the year, this is perfect timing really to start to explore this, because fall brings Thanksgiving, which typically causes families to be together, and then the holidays throughout the winter, folks are at the same table. And so this could be a very good opportunity for folks to connect. So now, what are some of the biggest mistakes that families make when they inherit property or land? Like, especially when, like, to what you just said, nobody's made a plan for it. Like, what are some of the biggest mistakes people make?
The biggest mistake is paying that property tax without a probate, or just, grandma died and we're just going to continue to pay that taxes, and there's no changing of name. Grandma's passed away for 15, 20 years and people are paying the taxes. So that is the first thing. And not creating a budget. You could inherit 100 acres. How much is it going to cost you yearly to manage those 100 acres? When you have that house, the home, if you're a homeowner, things break, things things fail from time to time. Upgrades need to happen. Not having a clear plan, I do agribusiness planning, or just general business planning. And if you don't have that plan, you're just going to continue to either siphon out money, or it just might not plan the way you need it to. So focus on that plan first.
Okay. So planning ahead, and I've heard it time and time again, whether in school or in workshops and at work, when you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And so planning is absolutely important. So y'all listen up. And so there's a part of this that some of us just never really want to talk about, because, you talked the first part of what we have explored, means that somebody's no longer here, like grandma's no longer here, great uncle's no longer here. And so we don't often really want to talk about those things, but planning ahead actually is what a lot of folks do, to your point. And what we have really got to, break down whatever the barrier has been for us to not have those conversations.
Yeah, and I'll say, I can't even say culturally, because again, I've worked with landowners from different races, different cultures. So it's really, people just don't like to talk about the thereafter, near after, the DIE word. But it's like, especially if you have children, you would want to say, hey, I would like to leave my children. And then you have those who don't have any, children, but just having that people tend to avoid that difficult conversation, but delaying that really, really makes it hard on a family, because a crisis happens, and you're starting to rush, or we have to all get this together now. It creates a high stress for the not only the person attempting to initiate it, because normally it's one person. It takes one person to initiate something. It could take one person to sell something. So you really have to, you know, focus on reducing the stress on the family. But that clear title exists. People need to learn how to go to the courthouse. To not just pay taxes, but to look up the records. I'm in Macon County. I believe it's called the REACT.
Mm-hmm.
I'll look up in a quick second. But basically, like it's to help assist landowners with fraud. So it's not in all counties. So I've heard in the state of Alabama,
Okay.
but it just caught my eye to speak about it. But it's REAACT, and I think because I know like Montgomery, I believe Elmore County, Macon County. So it's basically called the Real Estate Activity Alert and Contact Tool. So go to your constituents, tell them they need to get some funds, but it does help with fraud alerts, but it helps with general monitoring, like it was your security system. So like, let's say I went in, made an address change, it will pop up on the app. There's been just like any other security, your credit monitoring, it works just the same way. And I appreciate it. So just knowing those things, because things can happen in these places, things can get changed. You can get, updated. So make sure that you're checking on your property lines and making sure that people aren't encroaching on the land. Make sure that the property records are up to date. And even if you, as family members, if you were to start a business or want to be all on the property, list your names. Again, we also, let's say we got it all together and everyone's on there. We also need to plan for when the next generation is starting to age out. Put a cap at 80 years old, transfer it to the next heir, but that's up to the family. And I just say 80 because at a certain age, what kind of management do you need? I mean, I would just go sit and sip sweet tea and come,
Yes.
I'm like, I'm 80, but again, I'm not saying 80-year-olds, go shuck your land over. I'm just saying as a family, put a time limit,
Yeah.
for your investment, enjoyment. Let's say you guys are really great. You could be able to cash out at a certain age and again, send it to the successor. So there's a lot of creative ways to do to transfer land and keep it in the land. But I know we're talking about monies, but again, we have to plan for the monies because
Yes.
there's a plethora of organizations that are out there to assist you, but it comes down to the personal, financial. Can we, pay for this? Are we, because some family members might be hard on cash, some might not. So again, you have to all talk about money still,
Yeah.
because you got to spend money to make money. You got to save money so you don't overspend. So it's really again, I love the topic. The title, excuse me, Our Family Business. This just needs to be talked about.
Absolutely. And so like because we're going to spend the bulk of our time talking about money, but before, and you kind of started on this path, before we get into talking about how the land that we already have can start to make money for us, like how do I know whether I actually have clear ownership of a property? Like what documents do I need to be looking for in order to know whether this is something we need to spend some time on?
So that clear title, but ultimately we're trying to find that will, that deed. Let's say we're able to go through probate if there isn't a will. Again, there's cost associated to it, but that's the point, to go to the probate, getting those verbal agreements from each other. Again, it really just depends on how many heirs that you're pulling in. So of course, the least amount of heirs is better. but a lot, again, the documents, the deeds, any probate records, the wills, you can go to the courthouse, you can get this information. A lot of our information is digitized. You can look up, you should at least have your property tax cards, make sure that the taxes has been paid. Even if you have receipts for those payments. Um, and then, so your title search would happen as well once those things happen, to make sure there's no
Okay.
liens, mortgages, or any other easements out there. So it's a couple of documents, and again, I'm not a complete expert on the documents, but I do know that those are those are the main ones. But I would love for the general public to educate themselves, about this information. Go into the courthouse. There's nothing wrong going to the courthouse asking for your own information, and you can look up other information to a certain extent too.
And I'm glad that you're guiding people to the right documents and where they can get them from, like the courthouse. Because I will say, Selma is in Dallas County, and
Mm-hmm.
we have a wonderful county tax collector and tax assessor that are extremely helpful. These ladies, are on the front line of helping people make sure that they are current on property
Mm-hmm.
taxes. And so, in fact, in October, they'll actually host an event that is very much related to what we're
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah, from October to December
Yep,
31st.
yep.
Get it on there. And also too, forgot to mention. So that the death certificate of the deceased, whose name is on that property, but most importantly, that family tree. You have to draw that out.
Oh,
But again,
wow.
people should be building those family trees from the beginning. Talk with your elders. The elders have the most information. Again, I'll talk about the issue before the solution. We're seeing a lot of elders not giving information due to cultural instances, again, of
Mhm.
not talking about that word, or historically people have been taking land. People still can and have been. Um, However, there's still that stigma of someone's going to take my land if it comes out. And so they rather take that title to the grave. And it's unfortunate. However, being a part of the new generation, we just have to start again, and start, um, you know, speaking with our family members. And
Yeah.
sometimes you need to go buy your own land. Sometimes it can be an uphill battle and it is stressful. It just might be a lot. And I say it's perfectly okay to find new land and start that generation over if it becomes overburdensome, because we're still human. The stress is too high.
Yeah.
Uh, for not being able to work together with families, and I get it, because it happens. So definitely that family tree, and then um, and sometimes too, if you have an experienced attorney or an estate um, lawyer, that filing for an affidavit of heirship,
Hmm.
determination of heirship, and so that those things come into play. But again, I would talk with a speak with a lawyer, paralegal, but again, go speak to several people, especially those who might give you a free consultation. So definitely do that. There's schools that have assistance. There's low income assistance. So again, we're on our phones every day. Do a simple search of providers for that information, and I would not say do it alone, but I mean, you can do it as a group, especially if you have a lawyer in the family, accountant in the family,
Mm.
any of those people who've gone into those professions, utilize each other to help each other.
So I'm grateful that you are mentioning the resources that are available and using our phones and our searches for things that
Mhm.
can help us progress as families. And I've been taking notes and putting things in the chat. So if you've missed anything that she said, I've tried to capture along as she's talking, take notes for people so that you can always go back to the video. And check out, like you mentioned, the fact that deeds and wills, property tax bills and receipts, doing a title search at the county courthouse, having death certificates, having family trees, and even having documentation of liens or mortgages that have been taken out against the land are all things that you want to have access to in order to establish who owns the land. And then the fact that there are local resources available. People like Alabama Legal Services, that's an organization that spans the entire state of Alabama. They do offer services related to heirs property. There are attorneys in the state. One of the most prolific attorneys in heirs property is actually going to be our guest next month as we engage in this continued conversation. JC Fisher is an extraordinary attorney who is currently doing work probably in almost every county in Alabama.
At this point, I believe she is.
Right. And so she absolutely is a person that we can rely on to answer questions. And then there is a cost to it, right? So if you're untangling, and I kind of want to just get into that. So like what happens, want to ask you about like what happens if there are 5, 10, 20, maybe even more heirs? Like can anything productive be done with a piece of land that has a lot of heirs in your experience?
I mean, it can be done, but without, some type of legal document or a single co-owner, it can really block, your lease, harvesting, timber projects, development of the home, and ultimately trying to get a loan. So it can, however, again, identifying that lawyer. Now the percentages I haven't still yet, because it goes down to thirds, fourth quarters.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do that math. I'm with the other percent of people saying, oh yeah, if it's 10 heirs, it's 10 pieces. So, but that's not how the Alabama law works, and that's not how a lot of other state laws work.
Okay.
So it can be productive. However, we really have to do our best to work together, identify, the family strength, who can do what, who can be the writer, the runner, sometimes who can be the financier. I mean, work together if it's going to cost, I don't know, $10,000, and somebody has it, write a promissory note to your cousin and pay them according. Don't do do our families like that, because again, when it comes to money, we're seeing people get very upset with each other. So we want to be productive. We want to be motivated, and we want to be educational, not only to ourselves, to the general public, but we want to be as family members. So it can be done, but it's going to take some time.
Okay. So now I do want to get to the money part of the conversation, because it is you talked about our families working together. And there may need to be like somebody who kind of foots that bill, if you will. But what are some realistic ways? And I know that you worked with individuals and families. You're working with individuals and families. What are some realistic ways that family land can actually generate income without people in the family selling it? So without selling the land, how can people make money off of family land? Wait, you're muted.
Excuse me. Right from the jump, if you are not getting into some like state, federal, certain programs that are out there, you can work through certain things, as a family unit, but you still need an agreement as a family. Like let's go back to that 100 acres of trees. The family needs to go ahead. Hey, we're a collective of family members. We're going to elect 2 people to be the spokesperson for forestry. We'll let 2 people be the spokesman for an activity. If you choose to have an activity, say, hunting, or if you have a pond, so things like that. So, there's organizations that will help you with the creating a fire break, burning the trees, managing the trees. People love horse riding. You can rent, or you can rent horses or purchase. Again, and then on the home side, people are always looking to rent, Airbnb, hip camp. That's if it's in a more rural area. You have outdoor spaces, rooms for rent. If you're in a suburb or urban, college students always need a place to stay. So you not just only have the whole room for rent, instead of having one. You got 3 rooms for rent. So there's always a way to make money, but again, it still goes back to planning. How much do we need to, upgrade before we do that? Even with the, even if you're on the forestry side, now if you inherit a whole farm, now you definitely better plan. Again, instead of I'm in the agricultural sector. However, when it comes to the residential, that becomes an issue too, because sometimes we might have residential or commercial. So make sure that you're knowing your county zoning. Even in the rural areas, you might be outside of the city limit. You have to look at those different things. So even even if it's a ag land or homeland, I tell people to look at their soils, because you don't know what's in your soil, whether you want to make money on the backside or you want to make money on the home itself. So those are a few things if you don't want to sell. But again, it'll be harder to sell, if it's without that clear title. Even though people can try to, they'll try to force, but we're not trying to think about that, but it can happen. So again, we still need to protect ourselves as homeowners, landowners.
And so let's talk about that for just a second, because there are people who have developed. As a matter of fact, I've seen documentaries, and I've run into some people who actually use things like tax sales and the unfortunate fact that folks have just not planned, and they've built real estate empires off of land that has been lost. As a matter of fact, one of the stats that I'm super devastated by, and I've talked about it before on an online platform, that African Americans, Black folks, have, coming out of Reconstruction, owned hundreds of millions of acres of land, and at this point we own less than 10% of that land, and some of that is because of the forced sale and the laws that have not benefited us when it comes, and the fact that we just don't plan. I mean, let's just be honest. So when we think, like, how can a sale be forced?
Basically, when it comes to the division of the land, how it's already been divided, if that person passes, again, people try to say, oh, well, I've been paying the taxes and I can do XYZ, but it's not the case. If someone has an unclear title and you have, let's say, oh, I've been on this parcel of land for however, but I need some money. So that person says, hey, you can have my parcel, but it might be the biggest parcel. So now that person has now staked their claim. Now I cannot tell you on the backside how it works, so to speak, because I don't want to misspeak, but I know things do get changed. So, but people can. And again, it's about being proactive, and just how you were saying with the Reconstruction era, that's a lot of the elders who are like, I don't touch it. Oh, I'm going to have to pay taxes if you do X, Y, Z. But we're not understanding, like, if we transfer it, you won't be paying it either still. because it's in someone else's, and that someone else wants to have a plan. Another thing with the planning, to the to the elders who are on, who have the land, and I say this to the younger generations: give the elder the plan. Show them, hey,
Mm,
auntie. Uh,
yeah.
um, Again, don't say the DIE word. Just say,
Okay.
auntie, you got that land back there. How, talk with auntie, uncle, grandma, granddad, even if it's a group of you, and lay down a plan. Say, hey, you got these acres down here, or you have this beautiful home. What do you think we could do? And sometimes they might fuss at you, you're trying to push me out. No, we're just trying to make sure that we keep the home.
Right.
uh, and sometimes people donate their homes, or if they have to sell, they have to sell, but they also sell to their the folks that they know, families. So again, it can be, the main point is to work together and have that conversation before it gets,
Yeah.
before it becomes heirs property. That's why a lot of these organizations are doing, writing the grants, performing the education, and
Mhm.
putting out the information, because sometimes, even though it's online, it's still, in I guess in a psychology sense, it sounds better still coming from a human. I'd rather hear something from a human than online any day, even if it is wrong. Because I know a lot of things online are just, you can read it for general education, but it's
Right.
good to have someone that knows a little bit more than you, and it's okay if you don't know. And then sometimes the expert may not know, because you might have a complex situation, and so you might have to have two or three experts. And
Wow.
most of the time, you're going to end up with having a team with heirs property.
Wow.
Hmm.
And it seems like a lot of work because I just said wow, right? And it is
I'm not
also
gonna
a
lie,
part of
it's paper,
yeah,
it's paperwork. It's a
yeah,
lot. It's paperwork, but that's again why we need to have the education.
yeah.
Even simple wills. And lawyer. Things that a lot of organizations have will clinics. They will do it for
Hmm.
free. And I don't understand. I have a gripe to pick with my people. The word is free. I do free business plans.
Hmm.
These organizations have free wills, free estate planning. Some have free lawyer clinics. Go to the free events, because we cannot continue to complain about how much it costs,
Right.
because organizations are writing grants for this. Organizations are writing for, no matter what color you are, come get it completed, because it's
Absolutely.
free. It's
Absolutely.
free.
And
And sometimes you
particularly,
will have to pay, because again, there's
yeah,
only so many people can, get a free service. However, if you see it, at least go listen. I've had someone say, I don't even want to get into it with my cousins. I'm just going to continue to pay taxes. And I just say, okay, call me when you need some help, or call
yeah,
me if you need to help me to help you plan with your cousins.
right.
I just leave it open. But I know I'm not the only person that people say that to. I'm just going to leave it alone.
Because what we're encouraging people to do is to have conversations that have likely been difficult in the
Hmm.
past, and so just kind of giving folks this information. And again, we invite you all to jump in the comments to ask questions. um, I've been dropping some links to documentaries in the chat. So if you're interested in learning more and like the impact of having heirs property, you can hit on some of those links. Silver Dollar Road is a documentary. It's an award-winning documentary that
Hmm.
explores heirs property and the impact that it had on a family on Silver Dollar Road. And so
Right.
please, when you have time and you're binge watching over the weekend, just incorporate that into what you're watching so that we can get language, right? And even if you watch it as a family, to say, look, we know that we have these 10, 20, 100, 200 acres, right?
Hmm.
What's the plan with this? And it's, again, like you said, it's not to say to great grandma, to great aunt, we want to get you out of the way. That's not at all. This is so that
No.
we can preserve your legacy, because
And
we
that is, yes. And again, we have to speak, even to the elders speaking. If you have a younger generation who says this very, thing, please believe that. And also, again, we know our family. If you know Joe is not going to do it, then Joe ain't going to do it. But again, like I say, if you're serious about it, you should be able to give that elder a plan and say, hey, this is what I wanted to do. I've been thinking about this for some time. I got money saved up, because I'm sorry, y'all, if there are slim pickings on grants to help you start farming. I mean, it's like there's something I saw, that's due tomorrow. It's 10 people going to be chosen. How many people in the state of Alabama we have?
Right.
So think of all the different people who are, and I'm not discouraging anyone from applying, but again, it is competitive, money's out here that you're going to have to sift through with everybody else, and really have a compelling story. But again, they're going to ask you for a plan too. They're going to ask you for a projected budget. If you're trying to start a business, they're going to ask for pictures. They're going to ask for updates. So again, when you're starting to get into those programs or looking for funds, you still need to, show what you're doing, at least in some type of progressive form. So it's there. But again, the money can be made. But again, if it's a group of you, you have to work together. Because again, in any business, I know a lot of people do business by themselves, but it feels a lot better to have a team working with you.
Absolutely. A team means that different minds are coming together, different ideas. And just because you are the person that brought it up to the family doesn't mean that your idea is the best. It could be, your little cousin that comes up with an idea that is less, less taxing financially on the family, and potentially more profitable. Want to also point out, though, some of the things that you've said over the last couple of minutes. Like, one thing that you mentioned was about paying taxes. And so there's this idea, because I thought about this. I thought this until I really started learning about heirs property. Just because you are paying the taxes on a piece of property, if it says that it is your name and a couple of other people and others, or etal, ETAL, or heirs.
That is joint property.
Yep.
It is everybody's.
Right. And so just because you pay the taxes does not mean that it's your land.
That is not, no, it does. And again, now it can, but all of the heirs have to say,
agree to that.
Amy, we're gonna write a letter. Amy has full right to the property. We rescind our interest in this property. And again, those are letters too when it comes to the family tree that people can ask for, because some people don't. Some family member might be in California living their best life, and they say, no, I'm not going to come back to Alabama. Have at it. Hey, they might be saying, hey, I'll send y'all a couple of dollars, just show me some pictures or something, and just say, hey, well, then can you sign a letter, get it notarized, and put it in. So that will help reduce heirs. But again, hope the goal is to talk before this, the transfer happens. And I say the human transfer, not the financial transfer.
Yes. So now, what about, like, let's say an inherited house is sitting empty? I know you talked about things like Airbnb. You also mentioned with farmland another way that
So Airbnb does have extended their offerings to like more rural areas, and also HipCamp, HIPCAMP. Again, they work just like Airbnb with the fees. The HipCamp is more for outdoors. If you want to build a cabin, have a cabin, have a tract of land with a whole something, let's say you had a house already back there, get it fixed up, and you can do it that way. And again, people use what you have. If you have a pond, get that pond checked out by, Auburn Extension. Come look at it. You can test your water, see how much it costs to stock the fish in the size of the pond that you have. That's charge people a couple dollars. Hunting leases are always big. Those prices fluctuate because people, not gonna lie, people do barter hunting leases. So you might get something, you might not. However, it's still viable. And duck hunting, if you have wetlands on like some woods,
Mhm.
we actually got some beautiful ducks out on ours that we found out, but we're on a bartering system. But again, looking at when it comes to the whole property, again, when you're speaking about, someone else has an idea, we might not think about it, but probably 5, 10, or 15 of your cousins is probably thinking the same thing. Especially now, I know the uptick of, what is it called? Victory gardens and growing your own food and buying your land since COVID, because I thought it was going to be The Walking Dead. So a lot of people are really like, struggle, what's going on? But whether you're inherit land or buy land, an acre of land is the size of a football field. So always think of how much can one person do. It sounds beautiful. Oh, we bought 150-acre parcel of land. Okay.
To do what?
Where you gonna start? And my education, I want people to be realistic. I'm not gonna tell you no. I think it's great, but you don't have to do anything with the whole 150. You can start 1 acre, 3 acres, 10 acres. There's nothing wrong with starting on a smaller scale. Because again, what does your budget look like? Do you have to get a loan? And people, please do not be afraid to get a loan. If you have a long-standing, relationship with your bank, remember co-signers, again, sign documents. Doing business with your family is the same thing as doing a business with a business associate. Sign documents, get it notarized. If you're paying something and everybody's supposed to pay $100 a month, you got to pay $100 a month. Get it we agreed to pay XYZ. So keep business and keep family, and it'll work. And again, there's the times where people are asking to be bought out. I don't work much on that side, but those are options too. But again, sometimes the families don't even have that. It might be easier, again, if it was already had a, let's say 3 siblings were attached to a piece of land because the mom left it to them. One sibling says, look, I don't want any of this, but there's sellable timber. There's a sellable home. Those are ways to pull the equity out of that land to buy out the sibling or the other heir. So, again, those are in a sense the more practical ways, but that's if things are already in order.
Okay. And so I have been taking notes because she is dropping some gems. So if you are interested, like if you have land already or you're interested in purchasing land, you're looking at some acreage, hunting leases are a definite option, especially in this area, like across the Black Belt and throughout the state. We have like acres and acres and acres of great hunting ground. If you have wetlands in your family, consider duck hunting as an option to kind of market what you have available on that property. Again, right. Airbnb and Hit Camp. That those hip are camp. Hip. Oh, did I spell it right, girl?
Yeah,
wait a minute.
Like put your right hip in.
Yeah, okay, so I put it right in the notes. So it's
all
right in
there
the
you
chat.
go.
I said it wrong, but it's Hip Camp. Yeah, like put your right hip in. Okay. So yeah. Make sure that you
now again, I'm not endorsing them. I just know there's stuff, there's different things out there. And again, you can do a system on your own, if there's any other customer relationship. I'm trying to say out the word CRM, custom relationship management systems,
Mm-hmm.
Calendly. I'm just anything that helps you, catch a
Manage.
payment,
Yeah.
send a link to people, because we're still in the technical world. So anything to get someone to pay it quicker. That's what use that system. So I'm just saying these bigger platforms that are out there that people are already on. So again, sometimes we don't need to go the less expensive route. Sometimes it might be a little bit more expensive, but again, do your homework. You're on your phones or on computers. You can ask the internet how to, but also there's nothing wrong with going to a free resource that are out here to help you as well.
I'm so glad you brought that back up, because
I'll tell you to come with me I'll say, send me a couple of bullets so I know, because you don't go to an expert or to a resource with nothing. Do not, please don't do that. You don't go to a lawyer with nothing.
Right.
Don't know. You have to have something. You have to do the homework so that you can explain your agenda. You can explain your dilemma, your issue, whatever, in plain English. Because we're smart, but we don't know you.
Right. And so I'm glad you went back to that, because I do want to encourage people, right, to use the resources around them. One of the things, even the location that I'm in right now, the CITI Center, CITI, stands for Community Impacting Transformation and Innovation. And the reason why we're even producing these conversations in our community is because the Housing Hub is one of the strategic initiatives that has been launched out of the CITI Center, which is the economic. So the CITI Center is the economic justice arm of the Selma Center for Nonviolence. And so the Housing Hub specifically has resources, including yourself. We can guide folks to her, right, to you, and to the Alabama Legal Services and other folks, Attorney Fisher that we mentioned earlier. We want to make sure that people have the resources that they need in order to prevent heirs property from happening, as well as, if you already have heirs property, to go ahead and work on that so that it becomes an asset to the family, and that you end up protecting it from people who may prey on your family, because they know that you have land that does not have a clear title. And so I'm glad you talked about the free resources. And I want to go back to the idea of like legal services and other attorneys who specialize in estate planning and wills and trusts, right?
Right.
And making sure that we're not, because there are online resources, there are even attorneys who do wills, but you want to make sure that you're not creating heirs property with your
will. Right. Mm-hmm. And that's really big.
Yeah, because meaning, like, if I'm a woman who goes in, right, let's say my husband and I, we sit down with an attorney, we have 3 kids, and we want to leave our house to our children. Guess what we just created?
Heirs property. It needs to be specific, the house, the cars, or the land on the backside. Things really do need to be specific. I tell people all the time, I'm the only child, so I don't know that struggle, and that's but I am also a great mediator. So I do. I've been on a lot of Zoom calls to just allow family members to speak, and hear it out. But because again, a lot of these properties that are being inherited have so much space, but we're so focused on how much money we can make or how much money it's going to cost. And it's like, well, if you have 100 acres and 30 heirs, y'all can work together and on different pieces of the property. Everyone can do something. And if you have your ideas, you can the finance part, you can work that out. And again, sometimes the property might not be manageable as a living, and so it's going to cost. But again, goes right back to where we started. Budget. What does it look like? What what are the options? Give each other options on. I think we play a lot of different scenarios in our head. Put those scenarios on paper.
Yeah. Absolutely. Put it on paper, write the vision, make
Yes.
it plain. Want to ask you really quickly about like sentimental value, right?
Mhm.
So what happens when the property has sentimental value, but isn't necessarily financially sustainable? Like, how should families think through that? Like, what are some tips you could offer with that?
Sentimental value, but it's not making money.
Mm-mm.
You better start marketing it. You better make it look pretty. Slap some paint on it. Sentimental value. Again, so I've worked with landowners who, we will say, "Oh, I'm just this property is for it's for the family. It's just
Mhm.
here for them." And whether it's sentimental value, again, we all have an expiration date, so it still needs to be tended to, especially if it's a living home.
Mhm.
Homes need to be lived in. Home needs to be, there needs to be something in it. Even with property, you can't just leave a property and say, "Oh, well, that's grandma's trees." People will encroach on that property. If you leave a property for longer than a year, somebody gonna start walking on it. It doesn't matter where it is. It's just what people do.
Yeah.
So you have to be present on these, whether it's sentimental or not. But making money from it, I mean, you can make a dollar out of anything. You can figure something out. But again, you still have to work together.
Yes.
But there's
Working
there's
together.
opportunities. There's opportunities to
Yeah.
make. Yeah.
Working together seems to be a theme. Like,
Yeah, and also too, for for those who um inherit like land, soil types matter, soil health matters. Getting soil samples, making sure, if you're putting a home onto a piece of land and it hasn't had a home on it before, you
Mhm.
have to check all those, called percolation. Make sure you can put, if you're not doing composting, septic, you need a actual septic system.
Mm.
Will that fit on those certain areas? Because you might have the most beautiful location, but it's probably full of rock, or this certain soil that doesn't, your house might sink down. So you got to look at those different things. And so I like to tell people to look at the Web
Mhm.
Soil Survey, and that's one word. It's websoilsurvey.com. And the USDA, again, they have a lot of different programs, but again, with the USDA, you have to have some type of, you have to have a plan enforced if you don't have a clear title. So you should still be able to get certain benefits, but you can't, like, you might not be able to get a loan, but you might be able to get a conservation project to help you with forestry, or some of the other practices that they have. But the Natural Resources Conservation Service and the Farm Service Agency are those types of agencies that you will go to for the farming. And then also, if you want to, say at the same thing, if for the U.S. for any homes, but again, if you're dealing with loans, it has to have a clear title. But I like to tell other, if it's still heirs property, there's philanthropic organizations, mutual aid organizations that are out there, that are there for farmers. Will have more heirs property assistance.
Mhm.
So again, do your searches to find these organizations. You can shoot me an email, or Miss Lydia, and we're here. And again, we're not the only resources out there. So there's
Right.
more than us, because again, I don't even think there's still not enough resources to go around for the general public. But also, the general public needs to come and start asking, because again, there's so many free resources out there for you,
Including us. And so
including
I,
us.
yes, and so I definitely, in the chat, I just put our address. The city center is located in downtown Selma. So if you are in and around downtown Selma, 217 Broad Street, the building used to serve our community as the Swift Drug Company, but it's now the city center. And so We are working to stand 3 programs up. And I
Okay.
know that, yeah, it does not sound like a lot, but it is huge because the Housing Hub will serve as a navigation service for folks in who need, whether you're unstably housed or right now we're working on a cohort of folks who are potential homeowners. They're developers that are coming into our community that want to build brand new houses, and so we're working with a cohort of folks who to get them ready for home ownership. And we have partnerships with everybody from like yourself. At Auburn University, the Alabama Legal Services. We have partnerships with, even for entrepreneurs, Catalyst, and the University of Alabama. Like, we really, partnerships are what we do,
Yeah.
and that helps to give the access back to the people. Right. And so we're excited to be a part of the ecosystem. Again, it's free to go to the courthouse, right? We have an amazing, in Dallas County, we have an amazing county tax assessor and tax collector who can.
Now it might cost you to print, but it's free to walk
Yes,
in.
to print, yes.
It's free to walk in.
It will cost you. So
Yeah,
let me
and
not
it's
say
normally like $1. So,
Right,
but
yeah.
that's per page. But that's
Yes.
for those who are penny pinchers. $1 is a high per page. But again, it's the courthouse fee.
Right.
But
It's
it's
courthouse.
free. It is free to walk in. It is free to look.
Yep.
And I believe it's legal to take a picture.
I was about to say, look,
it's legal to take a picture.
I was gonna say the same thing.
See, like again, a lot of people think the
it's
same thing. So again, you got to talk to each other because but you're saying partnership, and the family is ultimately a partnership. And I know our time is lingering, but that partnership can become a business, a LLC, or a trust, or a general partnership. It just depends on, again, your goals. If you guys are looking to make money, start a business. And it don't have to be 30 people. It can be 5 people. And then the other 25, my math was going. The other 25 can be, ad hoc members, advisors. Again, you all get creative. If you don't want to have your name on no bit, you don't have to. But again, talk about it. But again, we can help with different scenarios. I know everybody loves to use that AI chat. Use the AI chat to help you with a scenario to get your family together. help you, just don't, utilize it for, for other things that aren't going to help you make money. That's what, if I'm using it, it gotta make me something.
Yes.
Figure it out. So yes.
Absolutely. And so, as you said, our time is almost up. I just dropped in the chat what you just said about our families and the fact that we can actually start an LLC. We can do general partnerships. We can even do trusts. Now, there are not a lot of attorneys, I've learned, that do trusts, but there are attorneys that will do them. And planning ahead. So planning, partnership, right? Working together.
And it could be the same thing for residential or commercial property too.
Okay. Oh, okay. That's good to know. So now, if I'm watching tonight, right, because we've had a lot of folks come in and out, and I'm sure folks, are tagging and saving this video and sharing it with relatives. If I'm watching this video, right, and I am thinking, you know what, this is my family. This information is relevant to us. What are the first 3 things that you would tell me to do tomorrow morning?
Go pull that deed and tax card of the property that you all are looking at, or even if it's the parent's home. But you can visit the courthouse, or you can log onto the county revenue commissioner's website, or the probate clerk's office. Print the deed of record, the tax. You can print the tax parcel map and the payment status. Make sure that everything is good, even if you did it. Just because you went there and you paid it, still make sure that it looks the same online. So again, making sure you're looking at those records on a consistent basis, and call a family council meeting. That family, we're going to have our family business meeting. Start that, throw that out there. what do we say? Thanksgiving was coming up.
Mhm.
So throw that out there. Say, hey, by the way, I saw, this live the other day, or I've been hearing about heirs property, and I don't want that to happen to us. What can we do? How do are you guys even interested? Can we just start that conversation again? Don't say that DIE word. Don't say it. Just say, hey, we're thinking about it. Just put the bug in the ear.
Mhm.
It says, and sometimes and I'm grateful for those families who are proactive again, because it makes it a lot easier, because you're most likely going to spend more money if it's not passed down properly versus spending, maybe a couple of hundred here, or even, and I'm going to say, it might only be a couple of grand, under $5,000. And I say that very loosely beforehand, but after the fact, and even lawyers, if you're able to do these, any documents, just have a lawyer review them. And that's the third thing, is to, schedule a consultation, even if it's just to survey, or what is the other word, interview lawyers. Go to 2 or 3. Just don't go to the first lawyer that you see, because again, we need, if you're going to have representation, have someone that's going to represent you the way that you would like for them to. And again, it's your money, so you don't have to give your money to someone that you don't want to, but and most importantly, please read. Please read your laws, regulations, read the documents that you and your families are doing, asking each other if you understand. Legal terms are different. Some of the legal terms I still don't know. And probably might be for another another show, but be mindful of children who are born out of wedlock. That's another story.
Yes.
But please be inclusive of family, and just continue to love each other, and let's continue to prevent heirs property.
Yes, absolutely. I love the way you dealt with such a sensitive topic, but it's real, right? When when we consider, the possibility that, this may not be the only child that dad had, or that granddad had, or even their mom, right? Because there's a show, I forget the name of it. It's on OWN. That they explored, families. And there was a mom, who put her daughter up for adoption. And it wasn't until after the mom had passed away, that daughter started to put, 2 and 2 together, and ended up meeting siblings that they had never grown up with each other. So we've got to consider those dynamics, and understand that it happens.
Because life is embarrassing sometimes.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
A lot of us don't give information, and that's understandable. But moving forward, if it's going to stop, a family from moving forward, they'll forgive you.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I do want to just thank you again for spending an hour with us.
Thank you for having me.
An amazing, absolutely, honey. Listen, you inspired me so much in that first conversation. I went and had a conversation with my brother. Listen, I'm telling you.
Hold on, this lady that told me.
Right. So things are happening. And so I'm excited about the work that you do, the families that you're supporting, and the opportunity that families have to actually create a plan, like drafting that family tree, creating a plan. You mentioned that the very first thing, honey, go to the courthouse. Go to the courthouse and find the deeds and the tax cards on the family land that you're considering for the next project, or just to make money, right?
Right.
And then to plan that family business meeting. So we said that we're conversing about our family business. We want you to converse about your own family business. So we invite you to do that, and use the holiday season as an opportunity to do that. It's August. It will soon be September next week. I know I'm dating the show, but no matter when you watch this, when you get together with your family, like, make it a point to start talking about business and planning ahead, and then schedule that consultation. And I love the fact that you said interview an attorney. Like, just because you go to a doctor or go to an attorney,
Oh, I done switched the doctor. I ain't lying.
Yes, absolutely.
It's my money, if that, and it's
Right.
perfectly, but I know a lot of us, feel like, oh, I feel, but don't feel bad. They're making
Mm-mm.
their money. Somebody else will
Absolutely.
pay them, but it's just not your match, and don't be embarrassed to not go. And you can say, hey, I found somebody else. Some people don't call at all, but I mean, if you find somebody else, find somebody else. But it's
Absolutely.
the same way if you were interviewing someone else for a job position.
Mm-hmm.
If your family is going forward with somebody, even a consultant, an accountant,
Mm-hmm.
any of these people that you're going to spend, more than I'm gonna say more than $100, which you need to be interviewing.
I know that's right, because honey, money these days, yes.
I mean, I think people could, they can. I'm gonna say under 1,000 because I think $1,000 is probably like $50 these days.
Yeah,
But
right.
I don't know. But if over than that, you need to be,
Yeah,
because a little some work can get done with a grand.
absolutely. And so we're encouraging you, y'all, like to like for real, start having these conversations. Don't let this conversation be the end of your conversation about your family's business. So again, I want to thank you for being our guest this evening. We want to thank everybody who's tuned in. Y'all tell a friend to tell a friend to watch this video. You don't have to watch it real loud. You can put it in your AirPods so the person sitting next to you that's in your family don't think you're trying to come up with concoct all some crazy ideas, honey. But take notes. There are some notes already in the comments. If you take notes, and if you need any assistance, please feel free to drop by our physical location of the CITI Center. The CITI Center does serve as the economic arm of the Selma Center for Nonviolence. We're located at the Selma Center second location, 217 Broad Street in historic Selma, Alabama. So we are excited to be sharing space with experts like Miss Yamaya and yeah, Dr. Yamaya.
Man, y'all making me go to school. That is the
See what I'm
fourth.
saying? I'm
That
like,
is
because
the
I just
fourth
really
time
like
I've
I've been
heard that
wanting to
this
say that
month.
all day. Like,
If someone wants to give me a free PhD, I'll study and research and be quiet and sit
yes,
still.
yes. So
But I
yes,
will not pay for any more school. I love free.
free.
I joined a free cohort myself.
Yes,
Free
yes,
education. But I mean, we have
yes,
free education every day, you all. So please, continue to educate yourself. We're never too young, too old to be educated, or we're
yes.
not too smart to be educated. I still
Absolutely.
need to know. Agriculture is my lane. I'm not going to tell you I know geosciences or
Yeah,
something.
I
I'm
know,
not.
right?
I don't know. I don't know the rocks. No, but I
Right.
know agriculture and I know
Yes.
agribusiness,
Yeah.
agritourism. So,
Yeah.
and I know how to make money. Now I can't tell you how to make money if you want. What kind of, it can be a different subject, but
Yeah.
yes.
Yes. And so we're excited to be a part of an ecosystem that's building to support folks in and around the Black Belt of Alabama. So we invite you to engage with us and don't let our family business stop here. We want to
Mhm.
invite you to get into yours. So until next time, yeah, I'll just say go Saints. Look,
All right, Selma.
y'all have a good evening.
Have a good evening. Thank you.
Uh-huh.